As part of Off the Wall, 30 Performative Actions, I invited John Baldessari to recreate I Will Not Make Any More Boring Art. In 1970, John Baldessari destroyed all his artwork that he'd made in the previous 13 years. He did so out of a deep frustration with what he felt to be the very rigid formalist doctrine of modernist contemporary art. I Will Not Make Any More Boring Art was made the following year and has a very strong connection to Baldessari's public cremation. This work exists in many forms. It exists as a videotape, it exists as a print, it exists as wallpaper. It also exists as a performance and installation that was the original piece that he made in 1971 with students from the Nova Scotia College of Art. It's this first iteration of the piece that I asked John to recreate. We're re-performing for the first time since it was made. John couldn't get to Nova Scotia and so wrote this letter to them. Dear Charlotte, life is hard, life is earnest. Also, I always seem to be so preoccupied with thinking about art or reading about it that I procrastinate a lot, which is not good since I like everything all of you are doing up there. I have no idea what your gallery looks like, of course, and I know you do not have much money for shows, so that conditions my ideas, of course. It was tough making a decision about what I wanted to do, because I guess there's never enough chances or space to do all the things you want to do. Some good ideas are always waiting impatiently in the wings. I've got a punishment piece. It will require a surrogate, or surrogates, since I can't be there to take my self-imposed punishment. But that's okay, since the theory is that punishment should be instructive for others. And there's a precedent for it, Christ being punished for our sins, and many others. So some students as scapegoats are necessary. If you can't induce everybody to be sacrificial and take my sins upon their shoulders, then use whatever funds there are, $50, to pay someone as a mercenary. The piece is this. From ceiling to floor should be written by one or more people, one sentence under another, the following statement: I will not make any more boring art. At least one column or sentence should be done floor to ceiling before the exhibit opens, and the writing of the sentences should continue every day if possible for the length of the exhibit. I would appreciate it if you could tell me how many times the sentence has been written after the exhibit closes. It should be handwritten, clearly written with correct spelling. I'd like to have photos of my stand-ins. This self-flagellation of mine should not be meted out by you as punishment to students that have done their art badly, but only to holy innocents who will take on my sins and suffer the punishment, or who will do it for pay, but it should be money that would normally go to me. I prefer the former, that you'll find students that will freely take on my punishment. When he invited the students to make I Will Not Make Any More Boring Art, he was making a performative action. He was making something ephemeral, text-based, something that was written directly on the wall, the subject of the exhibition and of the artwork. This was a radical shift away from the idea that the artwork embodied an object. The wall takes on the status of a piece of paper that a bad student might write as punishment. And yet this wall also becomes the space where painting is hung. It becomes part of the artwork. It becomes the surface on which the artwork is made. It becomes the canvas.